There it is.
Hey now.
The signature cough at the beginning of the show.
Oh, that wasn't me. That was one of the other residents of the pot house.
Oh, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, can't blame me for thinking it was you.
No, and I don't want to disappoint you, so pardon me. No. I am so happy to be here with you this morning.
Well, don't make it sound so convincing. Like it sounds like I've a gun to your head, like behind the thing. Like, say the words, free market.
Blink through. You know what it is? I can't see you yet. This is the first time in at least 4 shows where that glitch is showing up, where you're disappearing.
Oh, it hasn't been doing it?
No, it's behaved. This is obviously a back-end restream thing.
Yeah. You know what? It's so funny because I've used Restream for other stuff too, and maybe it's just like it gets along well with my computer or my web browser or something. And I'm not going to say that I've never had problems with Restream. Obviously, like the chat locks up every once in a while, but by and large, I've just never really had any issues with it. But when I talk to everyone else, they're like, "This thing, it sucks." I'm like, "Does it? I don't know. I guess so."
Yeah. I don't know if it's the Mac or whatever it is, but
maybe
again, 30 seconds and then you pop up. So
yeah. It's
my
so weird how consistent it does that too. Like it's just like, you know.
My special gift today is this is what the chat box looks like for me. I'll send it over to the DM so you can see. But this is my Restream glitch of the day.
You know what else I never really have issues with though? Shouldn't say that. Twitter, and you do. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I certainly have felt my shadow ban slightly lifted over the last week and a half. I mean, it's not perfect, but I've definitely had a little bit of look. I started tweeting about NFTs more. I don't deny. You know, I had been on Twitter for 9 years tweeting about stocks and bonds, and I had loved NFTs, but nobody gave a shit. Like, I would get zero. Not only would I not get engagement, I would get jeered and booed if I talked about NFTs or trolled if I talked about NFTs. All of a sudden, NFTs get hot. I build an 8,000 person following on NFTs. And then bonds get interesting again. Well, I start tweeting about bonds, and I'm not surprised that my legs. Well, I'll tell you, kids, the number one way to get punished by the YouTube algorithm is to build a following on a subject and then start tweeting about another subject. They will punish you.
Yeah, on Twitter. Yeah, man. Well, like, I mean, I ran an Instagram account for a long time, and it's funny. They do funny shit, right? Like, I had 15,000 followers. I was growing at a great pace. My reach, which is like, you know, using the hashtags, how much views you'd get, like people that didn't follow you was amazing, right? Like each post I would do would get between 15 and 50,000 looks at a post that for people that did not subscribe to me, but followed certain hashtags. One day, hashtags just stopped like working for me.
Right.
And it was right around the time I hit 15,000 followers. They want you to pay for that shit. Right? They give you the taste. They get you addicted to it. They want you to, you know, need that growth. Like I was gaining, you know, I was getting about 1,000 to 2,000 followers a month, which if you consistently do that for a little bit and that growth kind of grows too, that's a nice little account you can start to monetize and everything too. No, they just smack the shit out of me.
If I were truly a conspiracy theorist, okay, just like Instagram, and once you start gaining followers, Twitter starts treating you better, and they want you to engage with their products and their analytics and the stuff that you can, you know, all that stuff that they want you to pay for and stuff like that. I noticed the moment my engagement fell off a cliff, every post I posted had a little button underneath that said boost. Promote your okay, and I'm like, So all of a sudden it seemed like they were like, hey, you like that engagement? You like how that tasted? Oh, that felt good, right? You remember those likes? Do you remember those comments? You want those? $20 a day, bitch. that was
yeah. I mean, they're dopamine suppliers, right?
yo, for real. No,
They get you hooked on it, and then they're like, well, the price has gone up.
This is your PR firm. If you are an independent person trying to grow your business, Twitter is your PR firm. And if you were in traditional business, you'd have to pay your PR firm. What's nice about social media is it's a freemium model. If you are lucky, if you are really funny, really smart, or really talented, you can probably hack your way to a growing that way. But just like any marketing company or PR company, you can also pay your way to fame. So, either route.
Well, yeah. I mean, but back to your original point, you are right about the consistency thing, right? And I don't know how much of it is like what your content was on Twitter, right? Like, I don't know how sophisticated, I'm sure it is, but like, they're like, oh, he's just switched up his topic. But what happens is you've built up a following on NFTs,
right? And
then you switch to things that those people aren't interested in. They stop clicking the like button.
Yeah.
Twitter doesn't prioritize you as much anymore because, and going back to Instagram, it was like that first hour or those first 4 hours of your post were key in how good the post was actually going to do. Because if it shows it to 500 people, and Instagram, you get a lot more likes anyways. But if it shows it to 500 people and only 10 of them click like, it's gone. It's done.
And
it's over.
And this is
but if it shows it to 500 people and 100 of them hit like, you're off to the races.
And this is how you can tell if you are quote unquote shadow banned or not. And again, this isn't something like Twitter is actively doing to you. But as you know, the default setting in Twitter is that they show you the algorithm stream, right? The tweets that are made for you.
Yes.
And most people prefer this because, quite frankly, it's a damn good algorithm. It shows you the content that you would have been mad you missed if you were just in timeline mode. And it's really good at that. So if you figure most people are on that version of the timeline, they stop putting you in that if you don't line up with what they think those person's interests are. And there's a very easy way to tell if you are quote unquote shadow banned versus, I don't know, your content just sucks and nobody's liking your stuff anymore. Look at your impressions, okay? That shows you how many streams the algorithm is putting you in front of. And I can just look at a chart of my impressions and Twitter's just not putting me in the algo anymore. And again, they're not manually doing this to me.
Yeah, right? It's not some employee being like, this
right,
guy.
No, it's just the way,
Free market capitalist? Who does he think he is?
It's the way their algo works. Here are the 3 easiest tips for everyone. Number 1, no outside links. Twitter wants you to keep people in Twitter. They will penalize you slightly for outside links. Number 2, threads are dominant right now. You want to be writing threads, and you want the first tweet in that thread to be like a headline for a newspaper. You pose it in the form of a question. Right, you write something sensational. You put the
here's 38 reasons why Solana is the shittiest NFT platform in the world.
And then finally, the strangest one, they penalize you for retweets. And that's a little weird because you would think you're keeping its content within the site, you're sharing other people or whatever, but for some reason the algorithm will penalize you for that. So those are your 3 easiest tips if you want to increase engagement on you.
Yeah. And those algorithms love controversy too, right?
They do.
Controversy creates clicks and views and keeps people engaged. So, I mean, if you're going to make a take on something, at least just like ramp it up a notch. But that's my thing is that like I don't have a lot of hot takes, so I don't make a lot of like big brash statements that people are like either love or hate, right?
And that's it. You're supposed to have an opinion, no matter what it is, and then you get it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it's one of the reasons why Kobe's always done so well is he just says the shit that like he's not afraid to say the stuff that he thinks is going to get people a little riled up,
They're just altcoins with JPEGs attached to them, too.
Oh God, like just brilliant, right? Like if you want to get an entire group of people. And it wasn't even like what he said was bad. It was how he phrased it was perfect to get people just fired up, right? So
Yep.
GM guys, Cambo, good to see you back. Dekenza, threads are the worst form of consuming. You know what? I kind of got to agree. I don't normally click on threads very often, but sometimes I will. I don't know if that makes sense, but it really has to like grab my attention in the first one and be somebody that like I am actually interested in what they have to say about something, because threads are pretty threads are pretty easy to just make 7 tweets that like a talented Twitter user could put into one, maybe 2. You know what I mean? Like it's just a way of like just stretching it out.
This is the common philosophy most people should live their lives by, is that most books should be essays, most essays should be articles, most articles should be tweets, and most tweets should be thoughts, and most thoughts should never be had. Just remember, that's the pain.
One of the coolest things in high school that I did was in this English creative writing class that I took literally just because I had to take a class, but I figured I would do it. We had to write an essay. Or no, we had to write a short story. It was called the 55-word short story. We had to write a short story that was like 2,000 words. Then we had to condense it to like 500 words. Then we had to condense it to 200 words. And then the final essay that you submitted was 55 words or less. So you had to take the whole idea of a 2,000-word short story and condense it basically into a paragraph.
Was Jack Dorsey your professor? That was like they were training you for Twitter.
I know, but and it's true, right? Like Twitter is like one of those things that like how much can you say and how concise can you say?
It used to be 140 characters, kids. I know you all are used to all these letters you get to use and stuff, but it used to be an art. I mean, it was it was something that you bonded on because Twitter was one of the lesser used social medias. It was popular on the news, but your average person didn't use Twitter. Like it was a professional application in a sense, but the pros on it, we bonded over this idea of like, how can you, because it sucked if you had to do more than one. This was before threads. You couldn't do like threads and stuff. You had to comment on your own tweet and the algorithm would put it out weird. Like it behooved you to fit whatever you were trying to think into that tweet. And there were so many creative ways people, try to do that or figure. There were websites called Tweet Longer, which was like, it would just, it would be a little link that you would, it was a thing. Yeah. But I do think it reminds me of the Picasso exercise of the bull, right? At what point?
Yeah. Great point.
How can you express a bull in its, what could you take away from a picture of a bull to where it's still a bull, where someone would still recognize a bull? And what, Picasso got it down to like 3 lines or something like that, and you knew it was a bull. And I think that people should apply that exercise in their life for all sorts of things, right? Pithy communication is a very great tool to have. Maybe we should talk about markets and NFTs.
Yeah, I was going to say everyone's here for the Twitter lessons, which I am not qualified to give. Guys, what's up? It is episode 155 on this October 19th, Wednesday edition of the AM show. I don't know why I say like Monday, Wednesday edition as though they do something differently from each other, but it is actually Wednesday. So I figure I see the need to point that out. Thank you so much for everybody that's tuning in. We're just going to jump right into the market discussion. 15 minutes into the show. Why not? Surprise, surprise. Since last show on Monday, not much has happened. Bitcoin and ETH both down 2.2% on the 24-hour chart, but we're just still hanging out around that $1,300 mark on ETH and 19,000 on Bitcoin. It was a little bit closer to 20,000 last time we were here, but you know what? That's okay. I think at this point we would, for the most part, agree that it's better than the downward trajectory that sometimes it feels like we're on the precipice of. Who knows? We've been trading sideways for quite some time now, and it feels like we're due for some kind of break, either up or down. Checking out the S&P right now, it is about a down 0.5% on the day as of, I don't know, a couple minutes ago. I can't remember how far behind. I'm 10 minutes behind. So as we all know on this show, that can change in a hurry. But what are we looking forward to on Wednesday in terms of the markets, or are we just kind of are where we are right now?
Well, we're at a data dead zone in a sense, right? The markets did something nobody expected, which was rally off a hot inflation number. They were even up yesterday morning another 2%. I mean, this was a 266-point rally off the lows in the S&P 500. It was feeling really bullish yesterday, and then we faded. And we're chopping now and digesting that move. I think the more interesting thing in markets, and especially for people in this show, is crypto is dead. And I don't mean price go down. I mean price do nothing. You have
we're literally the meme of poking a stick and just saying, like, just do something. Give us some kind of let me feel something.
You know, we've talked a lot this year about NASDAQ and S&P correlation to crypto and how that means, you know, crypto is just another speculative asset now, or just another, whatever, you know, all this type of talk. Well, with quite possibly the most bullish event that's happened all year with last week's reversal off that CPI print, crypto did not respond at all. It's really just done nothing, and it does it independent. You know, crypto will have a down day when markets are up, and it'll have an up day when markets are down. The decoupling is here. I'm just not sure it's what people necessarily expected. And, you know, everyone's felt it. Volatility has been sucked out post-merge. I think that has a lot to do with the merge being the only story in crypto, right? It was all the inflows were going into ETH. Now that story is over. There's nothing really to do with it. And what's the narrative here, right? Now, macro is not improving on the headline, but the markets seem to be front-running improvement. So I am leaning bullish. I do think the next move for coins is up. I just think that they're going to be very muted compared to what we understand as crypto returns. Now, even in its muted times, crypto will outperform. You know, someone asked me the other day, are stocks going to outperform crypto? Well, if stocks went up 20% from here, I think ETH and Bitcoin would probably be up 30%, but you're not going to see massive outperformance from coins that you saw over the last few years. I think as macro conditions now improve on the headline over the next 6 months, things are going to float higher. I just think it's capped, right? I actually think the more compelling story in crypto right now is digital gold, okay? Inflation hedges. You have been hearing the celebratory cheers of people decreeing that gold and Bitcoin are not the inflation hedges that people made them out to be. They are down this year in the face of the first hyperinflation that we've seen in decades and all this narrative. Well, just as there is a lag in economic data reaching headlines, there's a lag in obvious ideas coming to fruition. And now we've spent the last 9 months pasting anybody that was early to the gold or Bitcoin is an inflation hedge idea. Mm-hmm. Well, they've been wiped out right now. Well, and I mean, I think that
I could tell you that if you started loading up on Bitcoin, even just at March 2022, when the pandemic hit and all of a sudden they started, you know, printing all of this money and, you know, the early signs that inflation was on the horizon would be there, it has outperformed inflation, right? Like it has been a hedge against pretty much everything else during that time, even though it's down 75% from its all-time high. But as you said, there's that lag, right? It doesn't mean inflation is high and then all of a sudden people just flock to Bitcoin. That doesn't even make sense. But if you've been holding it for a long time, yeah, hell yeah, it does a lot better than in the inflation numbers.
And one would argue gold is even more perplexing, okay? Gold is way under its all-time high. If we go back to when it hit $2,000, however many years ago, I forget the exact number, but if you account for inflation over that time, gold is massively down from that peak, okay? Mm-hmm. We're sitting at $1,600 and change right now. Gold was as high as $2,000 10 years ago, right? So when are these concepts going to show up? In my opinion, now. Now, over the next 6 months, I think you're going to see the dollar, which is certainly reaching its peak. I don't know whether the dollar is going to go another 5% up or whether it topped last week. We're close to a top. I don't care what anybody says. And as the dollar trends down over the next 6 months, I think gold and Bitcoin, this idea of digital gold, are going to go up. And I think that I've talked about it before on the show last week. I think Bitcoin is going to outperform Ethereum in the very short term on this concept that all of a sudden these things people didn't think were inflation hedges are going to start beating inflation in a big way over the next 6 months.
Yeah, somebody this was on a podcast, and it was absolutely from a Bitcoin maxi. So I mean, take it with a grain of salt, but it was an interesting idea, and they basically said that like Bitcoin is the most scarce resource in the universe, right? Because we're never going to stumble across a planet in which that algorithmic cryptographic code exists. You're just not going to find any more of them. We know exactly how many of them exist, and we know exactly the schedule in which they're going to be released, and there's zero changing that. Now, I know it sounds corny, but it was kind of true. I mean, you know, we don't have too many things. Like, look at, what was it, in South America? We just found a gold deposit that was basically the size of every other gold deposit we've ever found combined, wasn't it? Like, it's just, you know, I do think that there is a very, very strong use case for the simplicity of Bitcoin kind of aligning that, like, just in terms of expectations, right?
And I really think that's going to come to fruition in the coming decades. Okay,
Yeah,
I
sure.
think the idea. I think we became too bullish on the idea of scarcity before the effects of it could really show themselves. And that's why people are like, oh, you put too much emphasis on scarcity. Who cares about scarcity? Blah, 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 blah. I agree with that in the short and medium term, but I truly believe in the long term, Bitcoin will act as digital gold. And I think gold will continue to act as gold. Gold is tradition. If you look at an inflation adjusted chart of gold, it's basically been $500 all throughout human history.
Yeah. It's been a stable coin.
You adjust for inflation. Yeah. So I do think, and I think gold's going to go to $5,000 before the end of the decade. I think it's going to make a hell of a move. And if you look at any of my tweets, I have been a commodities and a gold bear for decade. The only time I turned commodities bull in 2020 after oil went negative, because, you know, FMC sees a good opportunity, knows a good opportunity when he sees one. But I have generally been a commodities and a gold bear, and I have really flipped over the last 2 months, as I do think these things are going to outperform most assets now. So looking forward to those themes, to all the people that are like, ha, these things were in inflation hedges, going, huh, what the hell is happening now?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's all a matter of perspective when you entered and how long you held for. But, you know, it's the low hanging fruit, right? It's a very easy thing to pick off, especially when it was, the branding of the hedge against inflation was very, very strong. But people tend to just look in real time and not with like kind of past performance in mind. So
if something is an inflation hedge or not depends on when you buy it, not the app.
Very, very, very true. You mentioned that we're kind of in a data dead zone. We're also kind of in a bit of a news dead zone too. Like I was skimming the news a little bit, and it was a little slow out there. I guess that kind of just seems fitting for this you know, middle of October, where nothing really typically happens in the world anyways, except for Canadian Thanksgiving. So I'm going to pull up royalties discussion. Royalties were a big hot topic, I think, while we were a little bit on hiatus of the show. I'm sure we touched on it a little bit, but it's kind of coming to a head in regards to the Solana ecosystem. And, you know, Tyler Hobbs, not that he's an absolute authority of it, but of course, the creator of Fidenza has kind of looked at the parallels of the Ethereum network and the Solana network and weighed in on his thoughts about it. Now on Solana, if you go on there, it does seem to be basically a race to the bottom in terms of royalties, right? Like it's pretty much universal that the trading platforms are doing away with the royalties, or at the very best making them optional. Most projects, if they haven't, they're feeling pressure to go down to 0% royalties. And it does create a difficult spot for some of these projects that rely on it as a relatively loose revenue stream, right? Like when we talk about revenue generating businesses, I don't think we often refer to the volume of NFTs traded as like a great source of it. But I mean, let's just be honest. If you have a high priced NFT or a medium priced NFT and they're moving, you do accumulate quite a bit of ETH or Solana in whatever way. The pressure for that to be removed can be detrimental. I'm going to show a tweet from DGods. They have their own discussion that we're going to get into as well. But on DGods, Tubes, and y00ts, they are going 0% royalties. Oh, we still believe that royalties are an incredible use case of NFTs. We will continue to support creators that want to find solutions to enforce royalties. We believe that this is the best decision for our business at this time. It's about time we take a new approach. I think that this is a bit of a stupid statement, to be honest with you, because they're basically saying, we're the top dog on the Solana NFT network. We're going down to 0% royalties, and they're going to put a lot of pressure on all of the other projects to follow suit, because that's just the way that it works. If they really wanted to support other creators that want to use royalties and kind of need the royalties, maybe they should have just reduced the royalties from 9.9% to 2.5%. Saying, look, we're good. We're still going to take some. We believe that they should exist, but we're not going all the way down to zero. I don't know. DGods and y00ts, I think they're a little bit on the shit list lately. Going back to the article at hand, Tyler Hobbs basically just saying, it's a good indicator of the seriousness of the two networks, basically saying Solana is just this like, it's a thing that's trying to keep up, and they're trying to find their way, and they're trying to justify any reason that they're going to be better than Ethereum. And they keep doing all of these random things and, these new hot ideas that are going to change the landscape of NFTs and smart contracts. And none of them seem to really grab a hold. And it really does just feel like it's a bunch of people that feel like they missed the ETH train, and now they're hoping to get on the Solana train. By contrast, the royalty debate for Ethereum seemed to actually be pretty short-lived. It didn't have a lot of teeth, right? Am I wrong in that? Like, yeah, it was a hot thing for a little while. I think that there's a lot of happy mediums that projects could find in terms of doing the royalty. I think we can all agree that 10% is very aggressive. I think that we can all agree that 0% can really be a hindrance towards a project that has a roadmap, a project that has a development curve that they're looking to fulfill. And I think it's really just a little bit more nuanced than that. But I do agree with what he's saying, and just that the average Ethereum participant just seems to be a little bit more savvy and a little bit more serious about what we're doing here. What's your take on that?
Well, as usual, I think that the common debate being had amongst the masses misses the real story here, okay? Royalties, to me, it's such a stupid debate. There is no one-size-fits-all solution for them.
Correct.
So I don't even know why people are debating it. Let every project do what they're going to do and vote with your ETH. There's no reason to stay out here debating royalty this, good that, this amount, that amount, whatever. The real story here to me is how the market creates these darlings, these unicorn, Magic. All I had been hearing for the last 6 months is Magic Eden kicking OpenSea's ass, doing all the stuff that OpenSea won't do for us. They're going to take to all this type of bullshit. And then all of a sudden, we see a move that makes them look as mortal as anybody else. I have nothing against the Magic Eden. They may be as good, if not better, than the OpenSea team. But this idea that they were sanctified and had become this, I don't know. It was the idea that OpenSea's lead, and OpenSea's like Google, right? You Google everything. It's a lead that's insurmountable. And then much like the alt L1 cycles, you have these alt marketplaces that are going to come up and knock down OpenSea for this reason or that reason. Looks Rare and X2Y2, they're taking a genuinely decentralized Web3 Ethereum approach to the marketplace. Magic Eden just took a bunch of populist ideas that we want this thing for they tried to appease the masses. They tried to appease, it was classic popularism. This is what politicians do. This is what populares in ancient Rome did. It's very easy to whip the people up to support you if you start giving them shit that they want. Yeah. And that's all that Magic Eden ever seemed to do for me. So I don't know why people...
is not always the best course of action, and is the exact reason why DAOs just don't work.
Yeah, look at Steve Jobs notoriously hated focus groups. And he said if the people knew what they wanted, they would build it. The people don't know what you want until you give it to them. So I just think that the real story here is Magic Eden isn't quite the wunderkind unicorn that they were made out to be. They're as infallible as anyone else. And I think if they're going to be a successful marketplace, it's not just going to be on giving people the popular features they want. We know OpenSea could turn on anything they want at any point. You're just yelling at them because they haven't done it quick enough for your liking, and you missed out on the bag on this one project because they didn't have this fucking feature. Please.
I think that that's one thing that Magic Eden actually did well at first. It wasn't so much that they were listening to the people, is that they were giving people like good tools that were built into their platform. It looked good. It was a very functional trading site. And I think that was one of the big grudges against OpenSea, was just that like the functionality didn't work properly all of the time. The site was very laggy. It was very slow. It didn't update very well. There weren't a lot of analytics involved and whatnot. And I think that that's where Magic Eden really started to take this like hold on the idea that it was a superior platform. But I mean, OpenSea, maybe it's just a lack of general volume or excitement and things going on, seems to be pretty stable these days, and they are adding functionality. Now, I do think that it's some of OpenSea is funny, right? Like you just wake up one day and a button has moved and they're like, we updated the UI, and it's like, great, why did you move that there? Like I don't feel like I have a substantially better experience now that you've moved that button. But
I was just going to say, attribute it to whatever you want, whether it's hiring Farouk, and I don't even know if that's a meme or if it's real, but whether it was hiring Farouk.
Did they hire Farouk? Did I miss something?
I think he claims to be OpenSea's new intern. I think he's running their social media now. The last person who was running social media left or whatever.
Yeah.
Yesterday, OpenSea was trending on main Twitter with over 194,000 tweets. Okay. OpenSea has been in the conversation as far as customer service, being more active. But all of a sudden, OpenSea has woken up. And go ahead, attribute it to Magic Eden lighting a fire under their ass if you want. But just understand, right now, OpenSea's lead is so massive. All they got to do is turn on features slowly. What do they really have to do at this point? I genuinely think something like X2, Y2, or LooksRare is much more of a threat to them, because what they're leveraging is the Web3 ethos. And I think that is going to appeal to people. I think what Magic Eden did is said, we're a better centralized option.
Yeah, interesting. Dekenza say go 0% royalties with 0% VC funding. I do, last kind of thing I want to say on this topic is it is interesting to me that these projects that have gone out and raised big amounts of money start to tell other projects what they should or shouldn't do. I think, he's changed his tune a little bit, but like that was the Gabriel Layden thing where, he was saying, oh, everything should be free. And then it's like, by the way, we raised $55 million in VC funding and yada, yada, yada. Right. So it's easy to say that you shouldn't sell your product when, a bunch of VC firms have given you large swaths of cash to develop something. Completely different business model there. So, you know what? Maybe if they do take in $100 million, $50 million of VC funding, maybe they should lower their royalties to 0%, because that's not their revenue stream. They're not relying on it to put money in the bank, because let's face it, developers, artists, people need money to do work. This is what a transaction is. and you do need to kind of replenish the war chest as time goes on. So, I mean, it's always going to remain an interesting debate, but at least for the time being, ETH seems to really have like stabilized around the fact that like, hey, royalties are okay, but as free market said, there is nuance, there is discretion, and your royalty should fit what you're trying to achieve. And I think
Look,
that's the biggest.
there are four ways to make money in NFTs, right? There's mint price, there's royalties, there's investment, and then there's the add-ons, okay? Whatever your particular service is, whether it's blah, 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 blah. Any project that has enough of three is going to get rid of one and say, look at what we did for you.
Yeah.
Okay. It's common in business. You see this all the time everywhere. They're all just marketing tactics. Like, oh, we have enough of these three, so let's shit on this one. It doesn't even matter which one it is. Or they have enough of two. You know what I mean? Or you have enough of one, you could shit on three. And then it's all a marketing. Just what Gabriel lies that he doesn't know what's going to work. He's not right. This is all marketing. Marketing is everything. Everything.
Yeah. And back to our original conversation, Twitter engagement, right? Big hot statements, and it worked. It worked, right? Lincoln, what's up, man? Saying OpenSea is to users what SEC is to investors. They say they are doing this to help us. In reality, they're making things worse. I could see the parallel you're drawing there for sure. And also saying the meta for projects is getting VC funding. Seems like only those who have a strong chance to make it right now. Yeah, I mean, there's always diligence involved in making these deals and VC funding. So there's got to be some meat on the bones of those projects, regardless of the mint or not. We had a long discussion about Valhalla the other day regarding that, right? So, VCs spread their money around pretty recklessly sometimes, but I think in this market, I think they're the good VCs are the ones that are looking to find good deals right now. And they're really just buying the NFT and the crypto market at a low as is, right? Like these deals that we're seeing of 50 million in a full on bull market, they'd probably be 150 million, right? So that's where we are right now. But yeah, I do think that VC funding is a good indicator that there are a lot of really smart and wealthy people that believe this is going to succeed in some way, shape, or form. Might look very different in the next 5-10 years, but that's the goal, right?
Meta's change overnight in this industry. Where everyone cares about VC funding this week, and next week it's going to be about who's launching a satellite into space or something. I mean, there's no like.
Sure.
It's
I think VC funding is always going to be a good indicator that like the team is going to be able to develop something, right?
And
like
I do think
all else.
Right. And I do think a lot of things that we call metas are underlying trends that are never, I mean, calling Web3 gaming a meta. No, it's a trend and a genre within NFTs and VC funding. I think for time in memorial, there are going to be projects that raise money, and that is going to be one thing that attracts people to mint it or to buy the floor, whatever it is. But it's just going to be a faction of the market, and there's going to be some great new concept that comes up next week or next month that everyone latches on and starts copying. So
yeah, but I do think that those niches that we refer to as meta definitely transcend the the cartoon meta. Like, what, you know what I'm saying? Like, we had these like specific, like it's this style of art, it's pixel art, it's cartoon bears, it's all of these things. I'm like, yeah, okay, those things will come and go. The derivative meta we went through, where everything was doodles, everything was apes. Like, yeah, okay, they're fun and they kind of catch some fire, and everyone's looking for the next one. But yeah, I think there's some differentiation that we got to kind of look at there. Gaming is a big one. Music, whenever that happens, we thought that would be a big 2022 one, but doesn't seem like that's really gotten hold. Photography, all of those things, like those aren't really metas. They will have moments where they are very in vogue and see the benefit of an outsized return and whatnot. But yeah, I don't think that they're going anywhere, especially if NFTs and crypto aren't going anywhere. Also mentioned Web3 gaming really quickly. Kind of just giving myself a pat on the back here, but a couple of weeks ago, I don't know, whatever time, we were talking about the other side and how it works, and kind of drawing some parallels to Roblox, and thinking like that was the direction that I thought that they were going to go. Well, good for me. They have come out and actually talked about that the other side's goal is to be a Web3 native Roblox for adults. And I do think that this is the best case scenario for the other side. This makes me bullish, I guess, because it's in line with my view for it, that's where they're thinking. But it makes me bullish simply because Roblox numbers are fucking staggering. And if they can fulfill a niche that's similar to Roblox, but not directly trying to compete with them head on. And I always hate those like, we're going to take on Roblox. I'm like, yeah, but why? Because Roblox already won. If they can compete with, or no, sorry, not compete with that, if they can fulfill that niche to older people who frankly have no interest in playing Roblox. I've been on Roblox before because my son plays it. Zero interest in existing in that world for me. Like, it's just not something that's entertaining. This one, yeah, I could see it, right? I know free market, whenever we talk about this, you have some different feelings regarding like the need for the existence of it. But does the idea that they are taking obviously a very successful business model and kind of applying it in a well-funded way, does that get you excited about it at all?
No, it doesn't get me excited. I have picturing a bunch of man children dressed up like monkeys running around playing digital tic-tac-toe or whatever the fuck people do in these metaverse. I have a hard time imagining that the people who paid $150,000 to be part of this celebrity country club really want to, do that. Maybe, I guess, okay.
But I just don't think it's going to be gated. Like,
right.
I don't think I think it's going to be like, this exists for almost anybody that wants to participate in it. But oh shit, like that ape just ran by. Like he's rocking a $200,000 avatar.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I guess where would
I can hear the skepticism.
where would I participate in something like this? I don't like to play video games unless they make me money. I hate the idea that the term P2E has gone out of fashion. I ain't gonna P unless there's E. Okay, period. It's just when I started playing video games,
I ain't gonna P unless there's E.
Yeah, and when I started playing video games hardcore again, it was online poker. That's the only video game that ever really grabbed me and I couldn't put down, because you know what?
Yeah.
You can actually make money playing it. The thing, like the reward at what is the reward? Throwing your headset down and going, "Ha, bro, I sniped you from a mountain." Like, who the fuck gives a fucking flying fuck? How are you spending your lives doing this? Like, I understand if you're deriving income from it. In my opinion, the future is P2E. If there are vehicles, yes.
Let's fight about this a little bit, because what is the enjoyment of watching a movie, right?
I don't know. I don't do it anymore. It bores the shit out of me. My brain has been completely.
So, all I'm hearing is that you are like an extreme outlier of a human being. You're like all these things that like billions of people across the world are doing. You're like, what the fuck's the point?
Right. No, okay, yes, movies. No, go to your point. I'll play along. Movies, I like
No,
movies.
no, you don't. You don't have to play along. But I'm just saying, like, the gaming industry is now bigger than the movie industry and shows very little sign of slowing down. I agree with you. I played a lot of online poker and real poker too. I liked the idea of that my time in learning a game and putting and devoting effort into it could directly translate to profit. Right? That's just something that sticks well within my brain. Mm-hmm. But we're also seeing lots of gamers get fantastically rich for their skills now too. It's just maybe I'm not good enough to get to that level. I just think that, like, your point to like talking about, oh, I just sniped you or whatever. Yeah, people do get a lot of enjoyment out of that, and it's never been monetarily based. In fact, they're more willing to actually spend money to be able to do that rather than earn money. And I simply don't think that that's going away. I think people are more than happy to spend time in these ecosystems with or without the E part of it on the P.
So I will agree with that. And then I will say, but is that why people bought a Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT. I believe the majority of people paying six figures and more for a BAYC was doing it to be part of this club. They were doing it to be part of the celebrities, rubbing shoulders, going to parties, being cool, flexing online. What do video games have to do with that? I don't know. I don't think that's their customer base. Now, like you said,
they actually do kind of address that in the conversation too.
Okay.
They were basically saying, like, what are we? Are we a gaming company? Are we a tech company? And they basically took the easy answer and said, we are a lifestyle branding company that just happens to be very tech heavy. And I think the general synopsis was just that, like, yeah, we want to make this open, non-walled metaverse because it helps our branding. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's simply a fact of the more exposure and the more people participating in an ecosystem, the more recognition there is, thus increasing the value of the base Bored Ape NFT, regardless of that's why the people that bought them in the first place, right?
Okay. Well, here's my question. Why hasn't a traditional video game company built Roblox for adults?
Yeah, I mean, it's not an entirely invalid
because here's my smooth brained answer. And again, I'm not in this world, and I'm sure there's some much more nuanced responses to it. Says this is shit kids want to do, not adults. Adults want to buy $200,000 items so they could show them off at the club to get some information. You know what I'm saying? This is what drives the modern human adult.
I don't think those habits change as people get older, right? Okay. Like, I think that they might diminish. I sure as hell play way less video games than I used to as a kid, but I still know people, for better or for worse, that go log into World of Warcraft and hang out there and chat with their friends and whatnot.
It's still really big. The other day, like I saw some World of Warcraft. I would have guessed that game had 1,000 users at this point.
Like, God, no! Like millions still.
Yeah.
At their peak, they were like 20 million, and Roblox dwarfs that.
I'll tell you, P2E is going to work, man. Because you think about
it makes sense. I don't know.
If a game were that popular, you'd easily be able to E off of it. Like, there would be so many people just playing it to play. Like, all that money, that's yours if if it's P2E.
Right. Again, and the big use case for Roblox, and maybe this is the point, was that they developed Roblox is basically the Ethereum of the game, right? Like, it's the L1. They created they created the infrastructure for people to build on. They're not the ones doing the building. This is what BitClout got really wrong, because nobody understood that that's what they were doing. They thought BitClout was the product, not the blockchain. Roblox is the fundamental product of saying, hey, we're going to define all these parameters and create this system in which you can build on. You guys deal with it. And they have, right? There's something like 11 million games that have been made to be played on the Roblox ecosystem. Now, many of them have never even been downloaded once, but people like building on that. And when you build on it and actually have a popular product, you get the E part of it, because people go into your game, they buy the Robux to play in that game, and you get a cut of it. I 100% think that that's what Bored Apes is doing, and it's going to be Ape instead of Robux. And I think it's going to work.
Yeah,
it's going to work.
Hey, I mean, I am but an observer, and will cheer on anybody long the. I have no desire to short this concept. I'm just thinking out loud analytically.
No, I get it. I get it.
And nothing personally has convinced me to want to invest in that particular concept, but I expect that will easily change. I mean, I am just I have a certain set of parameters as to what's going to convince me to invest, and we'll see. We'll see. I'm looking forward to what they unleash here.
Just haven't even checked on it in a while. Otherside sitting at 1.7 ETH floor. I don't know if is that up or down. I think it's up. Up from the low, down from the mint.
Wasn't it at 1.5, if I had to remember? My big My big theory is that there's 100,000 of these and there's 100,000 5-digit ENS, and that 5-digit ENS will flip these as the zip code of choice for those in the metaverse.
They've never really, it's hard to say because the average sales isn't a good indicator because the quotas and stuff do sell pretty frequently. It doesn't look like they've dropped dramatically below that 1.5, I think you said. Yeah. But also important to note, there's not 100,000 of these. There's 200,000 of these. We still don't know what the other 100,000 is for. We'll see. We'll see. But interesting topic nonetheless. But also interesting that the Bored Ape founders have shed a little bit of light on what their plans are with it. And I think it works. I think it works. Let's talk about let's go back to D-Gods and y00ts, just because like what a shit show that has been for them. They just tweeted out yesterday. What is it, 19th? Yeah, yesterday. This little video of them showing the collection and whatnot. And I gotta say, like, I know that this is just a base randomization that they're showing on that iPad, but it wasn't great. There wasn't a lot of variety in it. And then, of course, they go on to show this pixelated person deleting the entire thing and basically saying, we're starting over. I can't believe now. And again, I don't participate in the Solana ecosystem. I just can't believe that this thing hasn't launched yet, or revealed yet. Like, this is, we're getting into, like, I don't know, what were the other projects that were just disastrous reveals where they didn't take too long? Hate Beast comes to mind. Mecha was a really long one. The one of ones when they revealed were basically just like, hey, you're getting a one of one, and we just don't have it yet.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of scams push reveal pretty far.
You've seen a lot of what?
Scams push their reveal out pretty far.
Yeah, I mean, and it kind of goes back, not that I want to get into the royalty conversation, but yeah, maybe you shouldn't be charging royalties on a product that you said was going to exist a month ago and still doesn't.
Well, they obviously anticipated a great reaction by the community because they blurred out the artist's face. They might as well have put him in witness protection at this point. I mean, what kind of this is, you know, I
didn't even understand that too. Everyone's like, oh, we gotta have doxed people. We gotta, we're a big project. And then this guy's got a just blurred out face, like you said, witness protection program.
I am not surprised people fall for this because, again, the world will for eternity churn out lonely people looking for a quote unquote community. But this is just another fucking faux community meta with some sort of guy that they've evangelized as a genius at the top doing this shit when they have no fucking idea what they're doing. The gods are the ugliest piece of shit art I have ever seen in my life. I don't know what kind of fiber bullshit that was being pushed as the best NFT on Solana. Their roadmap is so fucking basic Web3 PR bullshit. Oh, we do nothing. It's such the classic, like, pretending to be CCO. We don't have any roadmap. We're not here to make empty promises when that is the empty fucking promise at this point. Okay?
Our roadmap looks like a 5-year-old drew it. Like, that's intent. You're intentionally doing that.
They're pandering to you. They're pretending they're this. They're not this. This isn't natural. This is what their fucking marketing team said. Yeah, this is what the kids think is cool. This is such fucking contrived bullshit. I hate even talking about it. y00ts haven't revealed. I'm not fucking surprised. You know what? This project reminds me of something that would be on Solana, not ETH. Oh. It's on Solana, isn't it?
That was a good revelation there. That was nice. Like, that was Twitter thread worthy, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're getting fleeced on Twitter too. See, like, Bender and stuff, just being like, what are you guys doing? We talked about this.
Well, they deserve it after they fleeced an entire section of the market out of their money.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, you were talking about the Azure Bala. I don't know. Is that the worst?
Azure Bala, whatever the fuck. Let's continue, please, because this is another fucking project who, I don't know, Bored and Dangerous or Jenkins the Valet, some collective of Bored Apes supported this project. Big VC money invested. You had some of the biggest thread writing influencers talking about how this was the next big thing. Then we had a Pixelmon level reveal that was the joke of the NFT world for 4 days. Of course, all the influencers and we care about the community. We apologize. We rushed it. We only rushed it because we love you guys so much, and we just wanted to give everyone a hand job, and you were too far away for us to reach. So we're so sorry. But here's an idea. How about you guys design the NFT? We couldn't do it. We didn't know what we were doing. We're not artists. We're just a bunch of people trying to steal your money. So how about you guys design the NFT? So they have multiple town halls, spaces, meetings with the community, votes about what it should look like. 2 weeks later, they release 3 fucking vision boards, mood boards, like some Midwest housewife on
and they're
Pinterest.
not even remotely like each other either. Like, you choose, let's do jungle fantasy, let's do steampunk, and let's do cyberpunk. I don't know. What do you guys feel?
This is a joke. They're punking us.
That would be like,
this couldn't be real. This is not a real. And you have the apologists out there. This is the stupidest fucking market I've ever seen in my life. NFTs to zero.
The only apologists are the ones that loaded up their bags, and now they gotta pray that like something can come of this. Nobody on the outside looking in is apologizing for this behavior. Nobody. Oh,
and guess what? They will redesign them. The redesign will look amazing based on what they polled. Because as we know, we love focus groups. We talked about it earlier in the show. The people know what they want. That's why all these people went out and made a successful NFT product. So now after the community has designed your NFTs for you, the VCs will pump a ton of money into marketing and creating a 3D demo that looks great, and everyone will get bullish on it again. It'll be Pixelmon 2.0.
The first community-sourced NFT-designed project post-merge in October of 2022.
Go fuck yourselves.
Oh my god. Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, like I really loved when Tesla took all the pre-order money for the Cybertruck, and then when everybody got it delivered, they were like, we actually don't have it yet. But like, what do you think it should look like? Right? Like, what features do you want to see in this car now that you were supposed to get this? But we messed up. But let's talk about this, right? Like this, I don't know, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a bear market. You can get away with anything.
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't even charge mints anymore. That's how much they know their work is worth.
What is that? Yeah, are we going after the free mint meta now? Are we done with?
Yeah, why not?
Anything else we need to talk about? I've never even really been on the. Fuck, man, these are 0.4. Is that what I'm seeing? No, Jenkins the valet. What the hell is this?
Yeah. This is like this is the greatest thing to come out of Bored Apes since Eminem concerts was standing room.
But that was on the Azerbala site.
You paid $150,000 for an NFT. You got a hoodie and a standing room only Eminem concert. I could have gotten that for $250.
What? Well, I'm confused as to what I just clicked on though. I'm on the Azerbala website.
Yeah. I told you, Jenkins the Valet is the collective that has put Azerbala. This is like this is their first.
Okay, all right.
I think the organization's called Bored and Dare. Forgive me, I'm not trying to.
Well, you said Bored Ape.
Much.
I thought it took me to like a Bored Ape related thing. I got
Yeah. No, these guys are a collective now who are going to start putting out projects they believe in, and this was, I guess, their foray into Web3 gaming.
Well, they're killing it so far.
Avatar clone thing that they got here.
Fancy. Well, at least their roadmap doesn't look like a 5-year-old drew it.
Yeah.
All right, last thing I got on the docket. Azuki got everybody all pumped up for physical backed tokens. I mean, look, I don't want this show to just necessarily be like us pulling up things that were just like, what the fuck? That's stupid. But like,
I'd watch that show every day, my friend. I'm just telling you.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, like, it's not like the intent is to just like shit on everyone and everything, as fun as that can be. I typically never really had an issue with the stuff that Azuki has done. I mean, their Beans airdrop was magnificent with the Wiz Khalifa. Like, check your wallets, it's there, and in sync with a big concert at, was it NFT LA or something like that.
Yeah.
Physical backed token, an open source token standard tying a physical item to a digital token on the Ethereum blockchain. The long and short of this is I think that there's some kind of physical item that has a scannable bean on it. And if you scan it, you own it. And if somebody else owns it, it gets transferred. Can you explain this to me? Like, if I have a hat that I paid $500 from Azuki for, and somebody steals it and scans it, they're like, "Well, I got the token now." Like, how does that work? Like, is the thing on the hat, and anybody that has the hat gets to scan it and own it? Then what's the point? But if it's not,
I do think,
like, do you trust?
I do think, yeah, I think the most difficult thing in NFTs is this idea of attaching physical items to it. I think for the most part, most projects and artists should stay away from it. Remember, what is valuable about an NFT largely is its digital non-fungibility, right? Physical objects are notoriously difficult to keep nice, keep mint, keep safe, preserve, get to the person. You need verification. The person doesn't know whether you sent them a copy or the real. I mean, there is so much. This is what's beautiful about NFTs. You don't have to question provenance. I mean, even in the traditional art world, you know how many famous paintings are probably fakes that have just been, passed off and
the most expensive painting sale in history is still up for debate on whether it is real.
Yeah. And I mean, right? So I think that, don't get me wrong, I do think it's going to happen. And I'm not knocking people who try it. I think as a consumer, a user, it is way too early, and the rails necessary for something like that to be viable aren't there yet. So it's like building the train before the tracks, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, again, like going through 2017, 2018, where it was like tokenize and decentralize everything, it's really easy to get wrapped up in this idea that, yeah, it's great. There are some great use cases for it. The practicality of it, and maybe this is just a lack of imagination on my point, the practicality of putting your home ownership deed on chain as an NFT, and like, if your wallet gets hacked, like you just don't own the house anymore. What, you mint another one? If you mint another one, then what's the point, right? Like, then why are you doing it? I don't always get it. And maybe there's just this gap in technology that will actually get there and make it make sense. But one of the things that I liked was, what was it? Currency. You could choose the NFT or the physical copy. And
yes.
And there was a time limit, and it kind of created this gamification of like, yes, some of them exist on chain, some of them exist off chain physically. None of them exist both. Which one do you want? Like, that's kind of cool, because I do think that the physical copy of one of them can be just as valuable as the NFT copy, because there still is the scarcity involved in it, and it is a one or the other kind of decision. I thought that those concepts are cool. I'm failing to see how this is important. People got excited about it, and great, like you said, continue to try new things. Is we have to do that, and we have to come up with some stupid ideas or failures to get to the good stuff. It just happens. But I thought it was maybe representative of how new most of the people are in this space, because it was just like one of those things like, isn't this just VeChain? Like, VeChain's been around forever. This is the whole idea of VeChain. This is not a revolutionary idea.
Yeah, and I just think your main point is correct, that the tech is not there yet to make these type of things viable, right? Like, maybe it will be viable to have an NFT house deed in the future, but the rails aren't there. So that's why I don't, obviously this isn't a new invention or revolution. Look, soul-bound tokens aren't a new revolution. People have designed tokens that You couldn't trade. They can lock. Like, you know, these things have existed. But I think what people do is they see like an application, and then all of a sudden something that was made in a niche way or just here and there becomes like a standard for certain type of things. And I am a believer that these things will eventually be tokenized. Sorry about that, guys. I just do think that it's not quite there yet. So at most, this is marketing from Azuki, which I agree with. Market the shit out of it. Try these type of things and use them as marketing. No question. No question.
Yeah, and I mean the response was, I guess, as any good marketing campaign should be, a bit divisive, right?
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of conversation around it. Again, this isn't meant to be a complete knock on Azuki. There's a lot of other things we could talk about Azuki, you know, their founder or whatever. But yeah, I'm just
there's a great marketing concept of taking something that is mostly right, but you know is a little wrong, and putting it out there because you know it'll work in two ways. The people who agree that it's right are going to agree that it's right, and the people who don't are going to point out the thing that you said that is wrong, and you get twice. Now you got everybody engaging with you because you have the people who want to point out what you said is wrong, and you have the people who agree with you. So it's a common marketing tactic.
There was actually a great statement. It was like, if you ever want to know the answer to a question, make a statement that's the wrong answer.
Right.
Someone will be more than happy to correct you.
Yep.
Way more likely that you'll get the right answer by doing that than just asking the question.
You know, typos in a post are the.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, we're going back to social media.
Yeah. I'll do it in markets.
Almost every typo in a meme or in a social media post is entirely intentional because people love to tell you you were wrong. You know those videos like, check out these 4 idiots, you know, doing this thing in the street and there's only 3 of them? Entirely intentional.
Or like when they put up a clip that nothing goes on in, and then they put wait for it at the bottom, and you watch it like 50 times, like, what am I? And then you realize that
it's just a perfect loop. Yeah.
50 times and nothing happened. Like, yeah, there's
it's like a person just casting their fishing rod in and then pulling it out, and they're like, you got to see what comes out.
And like, and then
the worst thing is that people comment and be like, oh my God, I've never seen something so insane in my life. And you're like,
you got to play along or whatever. But I could see the conversation around the Azuki boardroom being like, look, we know this isn't exactly what we say it is, and we know maybe it and its foundation can't work, but it's cool. People are going to talk about it. And, you know, as technology improves, we'll probably be able to do this in a real manner in the future, and we'll just transition it over to that. And, you know, that type of conversations.
And then they get to say that they were the first ones to ever do it.
Hey, look, and boy, I'll tell you, in this industry, it's just one of my favorite red flags when people are just saying, I don't want to say we were, but we were the first that ever did it. It's like, who cares? Like, Apple was not the first to do anything, and they have 98% of the smartphone profits in the world. They didn't invent anything. None of it.
True.
Yeah, literally true. So look, 92.
Aren't there more Android users than iPhone users in the world?
Massively. Go look at what Apple's percentage of the global smartphone profits is, and it is, if I had to, it's between 87 and 92%. I'll Google it right now.
Oh, we're talking profits, not users.
No, not users. We're talking profits in the industry.
Gotcha. That I could see.
Yep. 92%
because they
of all
repackage the same phone every 6 months and sell it for $1,400.
Most companies don't make any money on the phone. Phone's a money-losing proposition. Apple makes money.
It blows my mind that this phone was as much as most, even MacBooks.
Well, what was interesting this year, I don't know if Rogers was doing it, but down here, all the carriers have massively subsidized the new iPhone. Like, you can basically get the new iPhone for free with a trade-in, like $1,000, and that's not what your trade-in is worth. They're subsidizing people to buy.
The mobile conglomerate of Canada, of which there's only 3, and they say it's not a monopoly, but it is. And they say that they don't coordinate, but they do. They all started this thing. So I used to be able to, especially because I had been with Rogers for so long, it used to be a 3-year contract. They were forced to make it 2 because they said 3 years is just too long. Great. You used to just be able to call them and say, hey, look, new phone time.
Right.
And they would ship you a new phone. Not necessarily a brand new one, but normally, like if let's say they were on iPhone 10, they would give you a 9, right? For free, because you know that they have a warehouse full of these ones that they just want to get rid of.
Interesting.
Fine. No big deal. Always loved it. Always easy to deal with. No problem. Every once in a while, you kind of got to do the haggle thing of being like, well, Bell's offering me this, or once, like, the deal was so good that I could have walked into a Rogers store, opened a new account, and got a better deal than they would have given me on my 12-year account. And I was like, look, you guys are offering this to new users. Just give it to me. They're like, yeah, okay, good point. Back to my original point. They don't do that anymore. Now, it's like rent to own your phone.
Yeah, that's what we
now pay a subscription fee. And let's face it, I mean, it's always been built into the contract fees, but now they've tacked it on top of the contract fees. We pay so much fucking money for our cell phones here. It's obscene. And they'll do this thing where it's like, oh, the iPhone 13 Pro Max, which is what I have, is $62 a month for the next 2 years. But if you want to own it outright instead of giving it back at the end, it's $68. Like, you know, they just gouge you for that extra $6 a month because they know you're not going to want to give it up because you want to own the thing at the end of it, not that you're going to do anything with it. And it's not like they're going to do anything with it. So I don't know.
Well, they did. That's why this year was so surprising, because this happened, I would say, 4 or 5 years ago in the U.S. phone industry, was that phone company subsidies stopped. Instead of the idea that you would get a big discount on getting the next phone, they switched over to that monthly thing. So you were no longer getting a subsidy, but it didn't feel like a big hit to your wallet because they would stretch it out to the monthly. And it was like, all right, it's just a monthly thing, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
This year, you have huge subsidies. Like I said, people can upgrade to the new phone for free, even if they weren't up for it, even if it wasn't their renewal time. So that's a bit. I think that speaks to where
it's the sampler, though.
Say it again.
It's the sampler. It's time to just give everybody a taste.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. This look. It's a joint effort between Apple and AT&T to increase sales and content. This is
there's going to be X percentage greater than before that now need the new phone every time. This is great. Can't believe I've been using this flip phone for so long.
Well, we got some interesting earnings yesterday from Under Armour and Netflix, which at least last time I looked, God knows if the show curse has taken over because I haven't checked in a while, but they were up a lot today. And I'll end with this note that people get scared of inflation, but inflation is just a fancy word for growth. And if companies price their earnings per share nominally in US dollars, well, the fact that inflation is 8% is going to mean their earnings go up because of it. Think about that. That means 8% more pricing power, 8% more profit, all that stuff. It's tempered by the foreign exchange and the interest rate. Okay, the reason we're not like in some sort of gangbuster earnings growth period is because it's tempered. But the idea that earnings were going to fall off a cliff and we were going to see negative growth and all this stuff, well, no, because again, Milton Friedman had a very famous saying, the good parts of inflation come first. And that's what you're seeing right now in quarterly earnings. I actually expect most companies to be reporting very good earnings, only to be tempered by outlooks, which of course they're all looking towards next year and wondering about how bad the incoming recession is going to be. We're likely already in the recession. It probably started in August. Your average recession is about 9 months. So you can expect it's going to end sometime next summer, maybe a little longer next fall. And that is what companies have to prepare for this eventuality this year. That's why hiring starts to slow. That's why companies stop buying things and investment in goods and services and stuff. So that's where recessions come from. And that's why we're tempered this year. Yes, earnings are up, but people know it's coming. So it's this mixed bag. The thing is, we had gotten so negative. People had already priced in that the world was ending. And now you're about to get a spat of great earnings. And as we talked about earlier in the show, a data dead zone. That's why I'm bullish on risk right now. That's why I think even with a little volatility as we create the bottom pattern we need, I think that as we look out over the next 6 months, the general direction is going to be up. And that's basically why. So,
well, maybe the show curse isn't exactly turned on right now. We were slightly green a second ago. Yeah, we were down.
Back up. We were pretty red. We were almost down 0.5%. S&P kind of got to green. I had tweeted out before the show that I thought the opposite was going to happen. We would open down, we would be up midday, and then we would close the day kind of flat. That's still what I think is going to happen. I think these next couple of days are about digestion. What's going to be interesting for me is the weekend, because if what I think is going to happen, crypto is going to rally over the weekend. It's going to lead risk, whereas it's kind of been detached and crabbing and not doing what the S&P is going to do. I do think it's going to start front running it again, and we'll see. If crypto's up this weekend, I think it's going to be a pretty bullish week all around next week. So keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I mean, the decoupling, as you said, was probably not as everybody anticipated.
Nope.
Most people think of the decoupling as leaving the stock market in the dust. But I mean, if you were around from 2018 to 2020, you watched the stock market go up only basically for that time, and crypto just do absolutely nothing, if not go down. That was a decoupling, just not the one we wanted, not the one we needed.
Right. I think, and it's all about phases too, because if you look at what stocks rally off of bottoms after bearish periods, it tends to be high quality names, right? It's not your highest beta, riskiest issue. All that Kathy, ARK, crazy high PE multiple stuff, that really started mooning in the last 2 years. The first 9 years of the bull market were about quality companies that were very underpriced, getting to fair value. And then you got.
Do you like Kathy Wood?
I do.
Or was she just somebody that talked a big talk and had a lot of high risk assets invested when shit went boom?
I think we are yet to see how much that pans out. She essentially took a VC model to a hedge fund / ETF, because a lot of the companies she invested in are going to go to zero. But if a few of them work out really well, maybe she will come out ahead. I think she gets quite the unfair rap, but it's almost on purpose, because she knows she's going to be controversial.
So she's a VC firm in the form of an ETF.
Yeah, and a week ago or a couple of weeks ago, she wrote an open letter to the Fed, the FOMC, not demanding, but pleading with them to stop raising interest rates. And boy, was it passed around Wall Street as the joke of the day. Oh, Kathy's down and she's begging. She wants to see the manager of the stock market. Can I see the manager of the stock market? My stocks, all that type of stuff. And I sat there and I said, all you guys hate Kathy Wood so much, yet you fell for her latest marketing effort, hook, line, and sinker. You're literally making inflows to her fund happen by passing around this letter like an idiot, and you knock her. I think she's a brilliant marketer. Whether she's a great stock picker, I think that will be borne out over the next few years, because I am of the camp that everything didn't just burst, that we weren't in some massive bubble that just popped. This is a major repricing because of interest rate. If there was any bubble, it was in bonds, okay? And that's reverberating into other things. As that settles, I think we're going to come out of it, and I think a lot of the Kathy companies are going to do good. That said, the tide went out so much that anybody who was really swimming naked probably isn't going to make it out alive, and we're going to see that happen next year. So, she has a large hill to climb. She round trip 5 years.
She got pretty panned for the Coinbase sale too, right? She was literally
Like
literally the bottom tick.
He created the bottom. Her sale was the capitulation bottom. So she got
actually was. Yeah.
But again, we just don't know what someone's obligated. You never know what someone is forced to sell or for what reason, and they're not going to tell you. They're always going to spin and market to make themselves, look, at least in their perception, as good as they can. So I'm not a Kathy hater. She's certainly, she round tripped 5 years of performance, which is just not something you want to do. I can't commend her performance this year, but I do think she gets a bad rap by a bunch of old white misogynistic Wall Streeters who hate to see a woman getting inflows into her fund.
I dig it.
And I'm not that guy. I would never, I don't care about that type of stuff. I'm not part of the culture war, but I do see it. It's obvious that's what's happening. You see she triggers people. And why would she trigger someone more than anyone else? Because she's a woman in a man's game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I'm trying to think of some names. The male equivalent on Wall Street wrote that letter. The reaction different, right?
Yeah.
Would have been a revolutionary call to action.
No. Don't get me wrong. I do believe, look, men get railed on Wall Street just as much in the sense that this is not a friendly industry where people pat each other on the back. You're trying to bankrupt your competitor because you want his money, okay? But she gets so much more shit than your average person would because she's a woman. It's obvious. I'm not sitting here trying to rally for any type of change in people. I'm just observing what people do, and that change will happen naturally as people evolve and more mature people get older. It's just seems obvious. She gets a bit of an unfair rap, though. Again, when you round trip 5 years of performance, you're going to get shit on Wall Street, man, woman, or giraffe.
Well, I mean, speaking of the old guard, right? As you kind of said, just the change that will happen. I didn't even realize this. Did you realize 1/7 of the world's money supply is about to be unlocked by the boomer generation, basically passing?
I thought you were going to say the halvening in Bitcoin. No, that's pretty great. Look, of course,
in USD, American funds, 1/7 of the world's money supply is about to be transferred over the course of 15 years, 10 years.
Look, if a Republican can get into office, the greatest thing they could do right now would be temporarily eliminate the estate tax. You want to talk, and don't even think for a second it's not going to happen. Don't even think, believe it. I'm predicting it on this show right now. The estate tax will be temporarily. It'll come back when some communist gets elected again, and blah blah blah. But they definitely are going to eliminate.
We're going there now, are we? No.
No, I thought there are a few. The estate tax is one of the more egregious things I think has ever been enacted in a financial system. To tax money multiple times over and over again until it's nothing is.
But correct me if I'm wrong, if it's assets that are transferred over, the cost basis is reset to the date of the transfer, isn't it?
Look, it really doesn't matter unless you're inheriting shit tons of money. Don't get this.
I know. But say your father owns $500 million of Apple stock. They're sitting on tons and tons and tons of capital gains on that. Presumably, let's just say $400 million in capital gains on that. If they die and pass that Apple stock on, the person who received the basis is now $500 million.
Yep, and then they take 40% in the estate tax.
No, I didn't think that they did, though.
Yep,
they do.
The estate tax has nothing to do with the capital.
But you have to sell your asset. You're just not getting cap gained on it.
That's it. Exactly. You're just not. There's no cap gains tax on what happened, but they're going to take your 40%. They're taking their. I think it's I forget what the amount is. I think it's over 3 million in the United States. So again, this is if you're getting, quite the large inheritance as far as taxes go. But
Yeah.
I do, to me, it comes down to double tax. That money was already taxed. Okay, that money was already taxed, and I understand like it's transferring hands again, but I don't know. Immediate family, I disagree with. Whatever.
Interesting. I don't know how that works in Canada. I don't. We have very similar but also very different tax laws here.
Compared to most people in the world, it's not the worst problem to have if you're.
No, for sure. Yeah, this is
like just be happy in life, right? Don't let these things break your head too much. But I do find it kind of egregious. But everyone has their own thought on that.
Yeah, we have weird stuff here. Like we don't have long and short-term capital gains tax. We just have capital gains tax. It doesn't matter if you sell it within an hour or a year or 5 years. Mm-hmm. And that capital gains tax is relative to your marginal tax bracket. Yeah. So you get taxed at your marginal tax bracket on half of the capital gains. Well. I don't know if that's beneficial or not. I think for a short-term trader, it's probably better. For a long-term trader, it probably comes out worse. Because yours, what, like 13% on long-term?
I think it's 15. I think it went back up to 15 after Trump. I don't know. I haven't sold anything long-term.
Fair enough. All right, guys. Hour and a half. I think that's probably a good time to wrap it up. You got anything else you want to talk about?
No.
No. Feeling good. Feeling great.
Yes, sir.
Episode 155 or episode 3 in the books. Maybe we'll just keep track of both of them. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Appreciate it. Nice to see some familiar faces jump back in here. And the viewership going up a little bit too. That's always appreciated as well. We talked a lot about social media at the beginning of the show. We talked a little bit about markets, but not much going on in there. Not a lot of data, not a lot of news happening. We went into what else did we talk about? Royalties. We had a royalty discussion with D-God saying they were going to zero, and Tyler Hobbs having an interesting take on the difference between Solana and ETH in terms of royalties, which I thought was pretty good. We talked about the Otherside and the Bored Ape founders kind of coming out and comparing it to Roblox, and that's what they're trying to achieve, which I am very bullish on. Talked a little bit about physical backed tokens from Azuki. And we talked about the y00ts. The y00ts reveal still not happening. I don't really care about y00ts, but I mean they're dropping the ball hard, I think. So if you missed any of the show, of course, this will be up and recorded for you to tune in later. I'm just going to ask a favor of anybody still sticking around. If you haven't hit the like button on this, as we talked about in social media, that stuff does matter. And as we try and grow and build the show, it is greatly appreciated if you could just take the time to do that. But if you don't, I won't lose any sleep over it. Free market might. I don't know about him, but I will.
I lose a lot of sleep.
You lose a lot of sleep. Yeah, I know. It's the things that keep you up at night. All right, guys, thank you so much. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9:30 Eastern is when we are running the show right now. So you can schedule it in your calendars. 9:30 Friday morning, we will be back on to wrap up the week. And I'm very excited to have this kind of back and going at a pretty good cadence here now. So free market, love you, dude. Great show. Thank you for everybody and your time. Take us out of here.
Good luck at the tables, DJ.